All right, welcome in to another video on my channel. Let's go over the first time, oh man, the first time I got into pornography. So I want to go over the first time that I ever saw pornography and actually I got into it, right? And I was interested in it because the first time that I ever saw pornography was around 11, 12 years old, but I was like kind of disgusted by it. I didn't really like seeing it. It was kind of like a shock. It kind of like
That's gross.
it scarred me. It really did. But I want to go over about the first time that I saw pornography, but I looked at it in like like this is something that I could potentially get into. So yeah, this all happened around 13, 14 years old, middle school times. Honestly, like they weren't that bad for me. They were actually pretty fun times for me because I wasn't viewing pornography. That's the thing there. Throughout high school, I viewed pornography. It gave me a ton of social anxiety. It gave me a ton of depression, low confidence. It really destroyed me and who I was. I wasn't able to be myself. I think that's one of the biggest side effects that hurts men and women as well in terms of their porn-free journey, that you can't be authentic when you watch pornography because you are what you consume, and pornography is the least authentic thing that you can consume. It's fake sex. The actors are drugged up. They get the right lighting. They get the right scenes. Unrealistic expectation of pornography. Everything about pornography is fake. Literally every single thing is fake, right? And when you consume that type of content that's so fake, you become fake yourself. That's what I've noticed within my life. Add that to the millions of reasons to why you shouldn't watch pornography and masturbate to it. But for me, the first time that I ever got into pornography, when I truly was into it, I remember I was 13, 14 years old. And around this time, I used to play a lot of video games. For those of you that don't know too, I have a very addictive personality. I've been addicted to obviously pornography, masturbation, video games, alcohol, weed, all a bunch of different stuff. Even fantasy football in general, right? A whole bunch of addictions. It's a very, very addictive personality. For me, like growing up, one of my addictions was video games. And the reason to why I really like video games was because it's fun. It's a great pastime. Like whenever you're stressed, you're bored or whatever, right? Similar to pornography, we go to kind of like a vice, and our vice, my vice back then, maybe your vice right now is pornography. Could be video games, could be this, could be binge eating, could be that, right? For me, it was video games at the time. And I remember I had a lot of friends within my my PlayStation party. I think it was called. I don't play too many video games as of right now, but I used to all the time. I used to have a PS4 and I would go into like parties and whatnot with like random people from online. I'd play the games, NBA 2K, Madden, all those games. I was really into sports games because I love sports, by the way. I know you guys know that I go to the gym all the time, and that's something that I'm very passionate in. I was very passionate in baseball back in the day in high school. And I also played basketball as well. But I remember one of the games that I used to really love was Madden. And this was around Madden NFL 16. And I went to Madden and I got into these parties with all these people and I started communicating with them. And like one thing led to another. And eventually after hanging out around these guys for so long, they kind of were talking about some porn stars. And I didn't really know too much about this. They didn't really mention that they were porn stars. I just kind of like assumed that they were just attractive women that they saw online or whatever, models, like swimsuit editions or whatever, right? So I didn't really pay too much thought about it. I remember one of the people there was talking about a porn star. I'm not going to mention who the porn star is because I don't want any of you guys to search this up, right? There's no way I'm going to mention like her name, right? But he mentioned a porn star. And I was kind of interested. I'm like, who is this person? Because they kept talking about her for like 10 minutes. They didn't really mention any of the scenes like about like, pornography and stuff like that. But they mentioned like how attractive she was and this and that. And I was like, well, like, I want to see how she looks like. Like, I'm curious. So I search her up and I see all these things. And eventually my brain gets flooded with all this dopamine. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? Because I remember I saw it when I was 12 years old, but I didn't really like connect the dots. And I kind of like found it disgusting at the time because my mind was like so pure. This time it was kind of more so like I was kind of like more so involved in the world. I was more worldly at this time when I was 13, 14 years old, a little bit later on, like within my life, a couple years later. Yeah, I was like, whoa, like, what is this, right? I felt like I found treasure. Like, it's so stupid, right? And it's really like a poison, right? It's like kind of like a trap. You have those mouse traps where you have the cheese and then like the mouse gets stuck. Pornography is one of the traps that traps humans and traps men, specifically. 90% of men actually watch pornography on a weekly basis. And that's just so horrifying to hear because it has a lot of side effects. It has a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage on a lot of people. If you don't believe me, you can go ahead and message me over on Instagram. I can tell you a few stories about some of the guys that I know that have been addicted to pornography, and about how much damage it's done to their life, and about how much damage it's also done to my life as well. But I remember going into it, and I felt like I found treasure, all these things, right? So I remember forget that night was kind of like the first time it was like, wow, like I need to look at this again. Like, what is this? Because I looked at it, but I was like, oh, like I'm kind of like busy right now. I'm playing video games, I'm hanging out with friends. I'm gonna look at this a little bit later. So I looked at it a little bit later on, and I was like all these things. Some that found more actors, and the rabbit hole it went on and it continued. And I looked at it pretty much for I masturbated to it as well for I think a whole year straight during that time. And that was the time where I really got addicted. And I can film another video on this as well. But next year, a year after that, because I found out about it and I watched it for like a whole year straight, like it was like a non-negotiable every single day. And it really affected my life. Like, oh my gosh. It really like affected me mentally. It was like complete whole nother person. 6 months after going into pornography and this drug of pornography and masturbation. Yeah, a year into it, I was like, well, like I'm very different than I was last year. And like this was very dramatic. And I thought about quitting and I really wanted to quit. I tried to quit and it didn't work out because I was already addicted. The devil had me right where he wanted me to. And I was already too deep into this addiction. Yeah, that's a little bit more about my story. If there's any parents watching this, like make sure your kid does not go into pornography. Get to pornography before they do, right? Tell your kids, and this is what I'm gonna do. Tell your kids about pornography and tell them that it's gonna harm your life. And it's also very weak to do. If you think about it, the weakest men on the planet go to pornography and masturbation, because if you really do think about it too, like the greatest men out there, they don't have time to watch pornography. They don't have time to masturbate. They don't have time to do all these things. It's very weak behavior. And you're kind of telling yourself, there's nothing better in my life to do. And there's nothing that I'm aspiring to. So might as well give into instant gratification, which is PMO, porn, masturbation, orgasm. One of the weakest things any man can do, maybe the weakest thing. But again, always play the good game. It's a blessing in disguise, because now that I'm free from pornography and now that I experienced all these things that I did within my life, I can now help other people quit pornography and hopefully help them avoid the same mistakes that I made alongside my journey. And lastly as well, if you want more so one-on-one help quitting pornography and masturbation, and you're done with this and you're serious about actually quitting, go over to my Instagram page. I'm messaging you guys over there. And if you want, you can DM me the word YouTube over on my Instagram page. We can go ahead and discuss back and forth and see how I can help you quit pornography. So DM me the word YouTube again on my Instagram. Go over there. I'll leave the link in the description of this video. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in another video.